All right, as you know, it is tax day. A little uncertainty about the future of President Trump's domestic economic agenda could be fueling some fears on Wall Street.
Let's bring in Mark Avallone. He's a financial market analyst. He's back here on 5 at 6:30 to break it all down for us. How are you?
Good to be here. Thanks.
All right, give us a sense of where things stand right now as we look at what we're seeing on Wall Street.
Well, after such a nice run since the election, I think investors forgot that Wall Street's not a one-way street. And all of a sudden, we started to get some bad news. It wasn't just North Korea and Syria. There's electoral change in Europe that could happen. And back home, we have a legislative roadblock. The Republican Party is split, and that's stopping any meaningful tax reform. And I'd say that's probably the biggest reason Wall Street slowed down its march.
You know, I also heard that the dollar weakened the day after the president was interviewed by the Wall Street Journal, and he said the dollar was getting too strong and that, the U.S. will not declare China a currency manipulator. Did any of that have to do with the fears and what's going on right now on Wall Street?
Well, generally, a weaker currency isn't bad for stocks. Look what happened in England when they announced leaving the EU. Their currency plummeted and their stock market's been on fire. Some countries like weaker currencies. It really helps their exports. I think the real factor is the gridlock in Washington. We've got three political parties now. You have the United Democrat Party against the divided Republicans, and they're not able to pass anything. And the market ran up with full expectations of meaningful tax reform, somewhat due to also for some infrastructure spending. But we're not getting any of it. We're not getting an infrastructure bill. We didn't get health care reform, and we're not getting meaningful tax reform. And that's somewhat baked into the stock market levels. So the Washington, on the legislative front, needs to catch up to Wall Street. And that's why I think you've seen Wall Street pull back a little bit and the stock market pull back.
Mark, back in 2000 when President Bush ran, he promised tax reform, and everybody got those $300 or $600 checks. In 2008, President Obama talked about the stimulus for infrastructure spending, which went many different ways. I mean, was there a signature achievement that President Trump wanted to see come in terms of tax reform?
Oh, when you compare it to those $300 or $600 rebate checks that you got from the Bush administration, this is just massive compared to that. He wants to take down personal rates. He wants to take down corporate rates. Sure, they'll close some loopholes, but this is going to be a huge stimulus for the economy if it passes. And that's why you saw such a love affair from the stock market after he got elected. This is going to dramatically increase corporate earnings, helps the bottom line, and everything you mentioned prior, it pales in comparison to what a huge tax cut could mean, the repatriation of foreign earnings that are held overseas by U.S. companies. This could be a great stimulus package if it's passed.
Right.
If it passes, there's the key word right there. All right, Mark Avallone, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.